You don't protect people by getting them to fight harder with more extreme weapons. If that's your answer, you are in fear, perpetuating more fear. Now, this approach doesn't solve problems. It only intensifies and escalates harm. It's choosing to learn through suffering instead of skipping all that drama and learning through peace. As you get more emotionally well, your answer isn't to make it easier for people to fight and harm each other. It's to show both the perpetrator and the victims that they are already whole. That's a more complicated process, though. It is a lot more work at first, and most people have no idea how to show people they are whole. So instead, they choose to fight with bigger weapons instead. Now, our industry and all of franchise sales will be affected by new proposed legislation that the IFA proposed and crafted with the California state legislators. Now, it makes all parties, even superfluously related to the franchise sale, a third-party seller and exposes them to full liability as a result. It doesn't require a transaction to have even occurred for that liability to be enacted on the parties. Yes, I'm talking about lead vendors, attorneys, funding sources, franchisees, accountants, and even the IFA itself is remotely involved in the franchise sales transaction and holds liability under the new legislation. The IFA wants this to get picked up by the other states and are showing support, not opposition for the bill as a result. So the question is, in franchising and in business ownership, do we want to fight with meaner weapons, increase who we are fighting with, even if that means that we're fighting with people that have nothing to do with the situation? So for example, civilians get hurt, but they didn't even agree to the war. Do we want to be that kind of franchise community? Or do we want to be the franchise community that says, let's stop fighting and arming for battle. Let's start working together on supporting and healing each other. We don't do that by blaming, judging, and fighting. We do that by leading, supporting, and structuring deeper levels of care for each other. This legislation is not ready for prime time. It needs more work to clarify terms like indirectly engaged, the offer of a sale, the attempt to effect an offer or sale, and other forms of consideration, and many other ambiguous terms in the legislation that make a lot of unsuspecting non-third-party sellers become third-party sellers. If you didn't work with a third-party seller like a franchise broker or an FSO before this legislation, in California, if this gets passed, you do now.